What's up? It's Drew with Ride the Rebellion. As you can see, based on those cacti up there, I am not near home at all. I am currently riding in the beautiful South Mountain. Is that what we're calling it, James?
South Mountain Preserve and Park.
That's James. James is with Cactus Adventures. Great tour. Highly suggest. Fun rider. Taught me some lines. Made fun of me just enough to keep me motivated. But I got to say, most of the riding and ability I have obviously comes from practice. And some of that comes from the stuff I learned with Dirt Coaster Academy. Those guys have been super helpful, hit a couple of drops with it. We got to get Dirt Coaster to get some rocks apparently, because I need some more training on rocks, but I got James for that for now. And James will give me a help on that. So if you have a chance, you're ever out here, check out Cactus Adventures. James is fantastic, good rides, great place, knows the area. And then if you're looking to get better, check out Dirt Coaster Academy. That said, here's the podcast.
I'ma get it, you know I be on the way. Yeah. You know I be on the way. Man on a mission, I'ma get it, you know I be on the way.
Speaking of screwing up, hey, welcome back to another exciting episode of Ride the Rebellion podcast. This time I'm going to introduce myself and you.
Okay, good.
Last episode was so impromptu, we didn't even do introductions. I'm your host, Drew Hall, and with me today is the king of the South Alabama Turndown and world's most diverse business properties company, because he has multiple entities. That'd be Dale Boyd of Dale Boyd Suite Management. It's a management suite. You have a variety of things.
I'm going to start selling little goldfish in rubber bags or plastic bags too. I think it's like part of it. Like everything has to be covered. I don't do any animal things right now.
No. Oh, we can make that change.
That sounds so dirty.
It does not sound appropriate by any means. We have a special guest today we're very excited about. You probably read it in the headlines. I don't know why. Like, I always try and keep it a secret. Here's his face. Now it's gone. And so today in the show, we're going to talk with Philip Darden, Executive Director of SORBA. That's the official stuff. We've hung out with him. So we're going to have a little bit of that talk, but it's going to be more like this show is. If you've ever listened to this podcast, if you've never listened to it, well, you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
We have a couple of things we're going to get out of the way first, a little housekeeping first. We're going to play a game with Philip. He probably should know this. He's listening to the podcast. For the love of God, if he's coming into this blind, my God, sir, I'm so sorry.
I know a little bit. Yeah,
okay.
I got a little bit.
You were the executive director of SORBA.
Just like
Please,
Andy
sir.
was one of the people at Fox.
Yeah.
Andy's no longer with Fox.
No, just kidding.
Everybody that's Cannondale fired Nixon after 23 years.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Welcome to the Ride the Rebellion podcast, where we'll burn the bridge for you. It's not keep the light on for you. So, with that said, let's get the housekeeping out of the way. Of course, we have something new we want to announce. If you notice, Dale Boyd of Dale Boyd Sports Management Suite of Supplies
Check out my nipples.
is wearing a brand new shirt. It is the Rider Supply Reb shirt in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fashion format.
Not stolen.
Not stolen. Not at all. Not in this show. One of the things that we are doing is that I'm going to just keep it on the shirt.
Okay, keep it on my shirt.
Yeah, is that we are introducing. If you guys haven't seen this, you can go to our social media. We're going to put the post up there as well for you. Correct?
Absolutely.
Ride the Reb. So if you're just listening to the podcast, you're going to have to go to Facebook and Instagram, which is at Ride the Rebellion. There's at Ride the Reb.
It's at the Ride the Rebellion.
Thank God, because I confuse all the business names.
Yeah, we got too many.
If you have a chance, head over to those. But what we're doing is we're doing a special thing. If you're listening to the show, there is a private Facebook group now you can join.
That's
if you're
right.
not a member of Facebook, this is one of the challenges of life. I'm sorry. This is how it works.
Yeah.
If you join the private Facebook group, which is invite only, by sending us a message, basically telling us that you listened to this episode.
Yeah, you can search it. It is searchable,
Oh, there you
but
go.
you have to be added.
Oh, you have to be added. So you
So
can
we
request
won't-
it. So if you request to join, what we're
Yes.
going to do with that is we're actually going to do a series of waffles. Right?
Waffles.
All shirts that we have are going to be waffles. And what that means is that the shirt will sell for $30. So you get a shirt. We're only going to make 10 of these shirts.
That's right.
Period.
The first 10 people.
First 10 people. That's right. Then we're going to take $5 from each person. So then there's basically a $50 pot that you can win. So not only do you get a shirt and you get your money back on a shirt, you're also going to get $25. So buying you a shirt could potentially, you could waffle to win $25. So you get a free shirt and $25 just for buying a shirt. That's a chance you have. It's a chance you have to play.
That's right.
And it's a limited edition shirt, and we're going to make these super rare.
That's right.
There's a reason for it. If we do a reprint, we will change them enough so that yours will always stand out. The reason we want to go down that path is we got to get some kind of funding going, and we just feel like we joke about Patreon all the time, and we just feel like this is a way better way of doing it.
And
you
gives
guys get
back.
something unique, and you get something cool. It's handmade by Dale. At this point, fair
That's
to say?
right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
For now,
I designed it and made it.
yeah. For now,
And
one
I
day maybe
touched
that
it
changes.
on a lot of parts of my heat press.
I don't even know what to say with that.
Oh,
But these are all handmade shirts by Dale in his heat press sweatshop that he has back at his house. But point is these are limited edition. First 10 people to sign up for it.
Yep. So what we'll do is like we'll have a list. So you'll go on. You'll say, "Hey, I want one." The first 10 people that say they want one, then after it's full, you'll pay $30 a piece.
Yep.
You'll get a shirt. Everybody, all 10 people get a shirt. But then we'll have a drawing for $50 total, and you'll get $50.
Yeah, potentially.
So, potentially.
Somebody wins $50.
So
It's a waffle.
It's a 1 out
it's
of
not
10
endorsed
chance.
by any other brand or any other companies or
No.
entities.
Right.
Fair to say, to keep you guys safe.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. Yeah. This is.
He didn't even know this was going to happen. It's just what we decided to do on the show. So I want to get that out of the way. So if you head over to @RideTheRebellion,
And
go on
if you
Facebook,
join that
Yeah, go
Facebook,
ahead.
that private group, maybe we'll do a couple other little things for you.
Oh, there'll
Because
be
then
things in there,
the only
yeah.
people that'll know about it are listeners.
Right.
So
yeah, that is
that's good.
that is our way of doing a Patreon that is a lot more fair. We're not trying to. Never have we tried to be greedy with the show. If someone wants to come by us and sponsor us, I will gladly sell out in a heartbeat.
Oh,
I was looking at a battery. It confused myself. You're fine.
For sure.
We won't
I'm
run
not-
out of battery this time.
I mean,
I will sell out in seconds.
The
Dale
only
will sell out in
thing
seconds.
I will not. Our question is whether I'll ride a Suntour fork or not. But Suntour, if you're out there listening, I'm in.
Welcome to the Ride the Rebellion podcast, now sponsored by Suntour Forks.
Paint it red.
That's a good idea.
That's a great idea. We're going to remanufacture them and resell them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just rebrand them. I bet we could buy those off-brand.
I don't know. I think we're going down a bad wormhole. Look, we sell T-shirts, Drew.
Anyway, if you have a chance, there's one more look at it. Move your hands. There it is. And head over, and we'll have a picture up there so you can actually see it. So there's only going to be technically 11 of these because Dale will have one.
Yeah, I'll have one.
We'll always have one. The only way you'll really get the release on it is to watch the episode, and then it'll trickle out.
Yeah.
We're going to give a little bit of leeway. So by watching on YouTube or Spotify,
That's
if
right.
Spotify works, it did not work last week. If it works, then you can see it early, and then there'll be a little bit of a lag behind it, so the rest of you can see it eventually on the socials.
And
So-
the other episode, like if we put more out ever again, like this will only be this color one time. How about that? So if the design is a big hit, if there's tons of people that want it, it'll only be gray once. So maybe next time it'd be a different color, like purple or something.
Tie-dye.
We
You got to
could
do a tie-dye
all
one,
the Ninja
man.
Turtles. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, tie-dye's not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a good
There you
idea.
go. I have to give him credit. He's a graphic design degree. We'll get that in a second.
When
And
we get
now-
SORBA sponsorship.
We're gonna play. We're gonna play a little game we like to call "What the hell is it?" I don't know. We don't actually have a name for this, but
Our
it's our
sponsors
sponsorship
love
game.
it.
Some of this is cheating because he's gonna know a lot of these. Philip's well-rounded in this stuff. All right. Before we do a formal introduction, we're gonna just throw these out there. First up. You've listened to the podcast. This doesn't work, so we should just zip through.
Just
You know
zip
what
through.
all of these are, aren't you?
Well, I mean, maybe not.
Okay.
All right. He sounds like he wants to play because he's
Yeah,
got
give him a
ideas.
chance.
He prepped. All right, our first one. Dale, you want to do it? Just pick one.
All right. Well, I don't know how to do it. I'm trying to think of like the names are so obvious to me. But if you really want to go somewhere and hang out with a guy and do some things,
You talking about your garage in the sweatshop, or are you talking about...
that could be too. But man, I'm struggling. Man of war. What is a man of war?
Oh, yeah, that's a jellyfish. That's a really
Same thing.
sweet
It's
tattoo shop. Kevin Blackie.
He's friends with Kevin.
Yeah.
See, I can't. I'm struggling. I'm trying to like not
I
say
know
the
it's
words.
because
It's
he's
so
an
hard.
he's an actual friend of the show.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
literally, legitimately has
Yeah.
paid attention to us. Yeah. So Man of War tattoo. If you haven't heard of it, do you have a tattoo? You have any tattoos?
I do. None of them
Kevin
are
do?
Kevin's, but his stuff is really, like, just incredible. Like,
Yeah.
his work is just off the charts.
And you follow him on social as well, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's worth watching. If you head over to manofwartattoo.com, he has a website. I don't think that really matters. I think you're better off to find him on Instagram, which is Man of War Tattoo. But then Kevin's is...
Blackie tattoo. I
Is that what it
believe.
is?
Yeah.
Blackie Tattoo.
For all your dating needs.
Yeah. I'm sure. Kevin, I haven't talked to Kevin in a long time. I think he's pissed because we have just trashed
he's
him.
like, dude, he's trying to get rid of us, I think.
Yeah, probably.
And so I met him at Coldwater Fat Tire Fest. And dude, so it's always around Halloween, and they always have these really weird. Anniston's just a weird town in general. Like I've been going there my entire
They have
life.
some
I feel like I
chemical
have the
issues.
right to be able to say that. Yeah, maybe Monsanto has something to do with it. But like last night of the whole Coldwater Fat Tire Fest, Kevin's like, "Dude, let's go out." I was like, "Okay, sure, yeah." And he puts on this like terrible clown costume, like half-asses his makeup, does his red squeaker nose, and we go out and we just get hammered. Like he's buying shots, and like next thing I know, it's 2:00 in the morning, and we're wandering back over to Zen Park to sleep with, you know.
Oh my God,
man! But Kevin Blackie, like he's a good time dude. Like that
Yeah.
guy,
he can ride too. He's a legit rider.
yeah,
he's
solid
very
rider.
Yeah, that's the thing that's funny is like Kevin. I don't remember. Kevin's older than me. That's what I know. And Kevin's a few years, whatever that number ends up being, doesn't matter. He shreds. Like we've seen him. He's a Reb member as well. And Kevin's come out there and he destroyed a race. He destroyed it. I mean, it was ridiculous. He's a great rider. So of course, Man of War tattoo. You know what Lucky Shot is, don't you?
Yeah, it's a coffee.
Yeah. See, he's
Yeah,
good.
we were riding the trail, and
Yeah,
he
he
was
rode
like,
the trail.
"Oh,
You
I
got
want
to
some
ride
coffee."
Lucky
This is
Shot.
like a test of whether or not I've actually listened
This
to the
is a good
podcast.
test.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's another screener. That's the other game.
Yeah.
Right? So LuckyShotCoffee.com. If you head over there, we did not get to drink Lucky Shot today because I ran out. But when I have it in stock, it's a very delicious coffee. And I really appreciate everything Shannon does, especially because it is, it's as close as to a crafted cup of coffee as you can possibly get, aside from her making it for you. So I get whole beans from her. I grind them myself. I'm a snob. I like pour over. I have a whole process. Chemex is what we drinking out today. But like there's a whole process for making coffee, and she does a fantastic job. So if you head over to LuckyShotCoffee.com, give her a shout.
Word.
We don't have to necessarily do a big push for DCA because I gave them a commercial on the front of this.
Yeah.
So you guys have already heard the DCA. So we don't, and you know what Dirt Coaster Academy is.
Yep.
Very
That's they're out of Louisiana.
That's correct.
Coaching mountain
right.
biking.
The best answer we've ever gotten from that goes to Andy Vidalia. We're never going to get his name right. Who thought it was Razor Scooters.
Like with big tires, so you
and
can
he
ride it
just
off
went
road.
for it. He just straight went for Razor Scooters. It was
Good.
delightful.
The coaster
Good.
thing maybe was it.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. And then Aaron's is blatantly obvious.
It's too
but,
obvious.
Yeah, Aaron is at run and try. Do you run though? Are you
I
a runner?
do, yeah. Actually, I run quite a bit. One of the things I'm working towards right now is doing the Pinhoti 100 in November, which is dumb. But I turned 40 last June, and I was like, "What can I do to break myself?"
Yeah.
Trying to run 100 miles. That should probably do it.
God, I can't even.
Yeah, I got a friend that does multiple hundreds a year. So if
Yeah.
you need advice, like don't do it.
Do
He'll
you wear
probably
those?
tell you.
Do you wear those weird shoes that Dale wears? He wears these weird
Ultras,
ass
running
shoes.
flat boy shoes.
No, I wear like super squishy shoes,
Oh,
and
the
I've got
Hokas or
that
something?
running vest that makes you look really cool.
I just got a new hat. Actually, I got this hat at Run and Try that's pretty sweet. It says Party Pace on it.
Oh, I got the same hat.
That
Yeah, mine's
neon,
purple.
Mine's neon yellow and pink.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
yeah. It's a trucker hat, party pace. Yeah.
Oh boy!
The ladies at the park make fun of me for being fat and fast.
I mean, you're fast.
And
There's
fat.
no joke.
He was telling me about that earlier today. Just like, yeah, he was running 7-minute miles, and the lady
There's
was
no
like,
bullshit. It's ridiculous. And he says stuff, and I'm like, I've gone to the gym 7 days this week. Literally, I've done everything I can to maintain some kind of level of fitness, and I'm still fat. And it's like I just don't get it. I don't eat bad. I don't do. Dale's like, well, I ran a 7. I'm running like a 10-minute mile, and I'm like,
My wife used to say on our way to races, like every race we would go to, she'd ride with me and hang out. And I don't running race anymore. So not retired, but de facto retired. But I said, she always I'd get done and I'd win or whatever. And she'd be like, imagine how fast you'd be if you didn't drink a Dr. Pepper and eat a Snickers on the way. She's like, all the people that you finished around were very skinny. And you come in there like looking hungry. I was like, well, I am super hungry.
give me a snack.
I'm the fattest of the fastest, baby. Come on over
Fattest
here to
of
daddy.
Yeah, well, you're Strava every day. Mind over matter. Mind over matter.
It's never stopped, dude. Since I started, I've always had to, and I just can't stop it now.
Yeah.
no, I don't know how you guys put up with it. But if you do need to run faster, and frankly, Aaron will put you in shoes right.
Yes, he will.
They won't necessarily make you faster. They won't make you fatter either, though.
Yeah, well, if you become friends with him, it'll make you fatter.
I don't know what that means.
We have a lot of beverages.
Oh, he is a
Yeah.
beverage-friendly environment.
And he moved behind me, so now we live in the same neighborhood. And he actually was like, dude, what if we got one of those bank things and we could shoot beers back and forth to each other? but we settled on just walkie talkies. So
Oh dear God. You're just
like 5-year-olds in your bedroom.
That's all it
Hey,
is.
dude, what are you doing? You want to go ride bikes?
But they're literally those guys from the movie where like you don't have to do the sound.
no, yeah, right, we are.
Over.
That's exactly it.
He's like, hey, do you want to drink beers? I'm like, does a bear shit in the woods? Like, yeah, dude, come on. All right.
So that's our sponsor role. The reason why we didn't do DCA again because the commercial at the front of the blah blah blah. You guys got it. I don't need to explain again. If you haven't seen the episode, fine. You had to listen to a commercial at the very beginning. That is what it is. I rode Phoenix and again talked about how great it was. I am going to shout out Cactus Adventures and James Marino, however you say it, James. He'll be on the show at some point. I rode Phoenix. He was my guide. I didn't want to ride alone because I don't know what I'm doing out there in the desert. There's rattlesnakes. And I saw a Gila monster, which he told me he's lived there for 20 years and he's seen 2. I saw one on my first hike. So pretty
That
lucky.
means you never can go back.
That's right. He was like, yeah, the greatest luck ever. And then the next day, the weather was unbelievable. It was the high the day before was 102. When I was there, the high was 83. Like freakish weather. So that said, I want to give a shout out to Cactus Adventures. If you guys are out that way, call James. He also is an instructor for a rival of one of our brands for the Ninja people. But he was a very good coach. Helped me work on some line work and dealing with rocks because we don't have a lot of those. Speaking of someone who has a lot of rocks, ladies and gentlemen, Philip Darden.
Do you have rocks?
I guess. I mean, weirdly, I don't know how you would know that, but I like pick
You've never
up
heard
rocks
the
all
phrase.
the time.
You never heard this phrase like he's got a lot of stones. You got a lot of stones. I'm being polite. I'm just not saying like,
Oh,
yeah, Dale got it.
I was smoking rocks. I don't know. I would go way different.
I was going with the fact that like it takes a lot of rocks.
Oh, okay,
in
I got
order
you.
to do what you do on a professional level at this point.
I mean, it's like, I love my job. It's the best job I probably could have at this point in time in my life. And when you love it, it's really not that challenging. You just kind of go in there and you do it.
Oh, I mean, I get it. I live that every day. I own a video production company, agency, whatever, and same thing, same kind of stuff. Let's go back to kind of the beginning of that. You're officially, the title is Executive Director of SORBA, which is Southern Off-Road Biking Association.
That is correct.
Look, swing and a swing.
So how did you end up going from, and we don't have to like do all history because there's other parts of that conversation we're having when we talk about like graphic and photography and all that stuff. But how did you go from, rider at some point? I know you were a probably a member of your local chapter, but how did you end up in that position? Like and I know you're associate director, but how did you end up in that spot? Because that seems like that's a very awesome place to be. And it's there's one of those positions and I assume as long as everyone's happy, you're in that spot for a while.
Yeah. And it's always funny. People ask me this question all the time because they're like, so what do you do? Like, well, I have a degree in graphic design, and they look at me and like, well, how the heck did you get in your position now? And the funny thing about life is that there's always this one moment where it seems really small and inconsequential.
Yep.
And it was when we were sitting in the room with everybody forming our own local chapter, and they were like, "Who wants to be vice president?" And I was like, "Well, that sounds like not the most important job. I'll do that."
Vice important management.
And that's really just kind of where it snowballed. I was racing cross country for a while and just was burnt out.
Right.
Burnout on racing, burnout on riding, and just like was going out and riding for fun and wanted to find some way that I could give back because racing is such a singular like me thing. And I just was like, I was tired of that and was like, all right, well, what can I do to give back? Started volunteering. We were unaffiliated, like not an association, and started volunteering time at Chewacla State Park up in Auburn, Alabama, building trail. And we formed an organization, Camp Central Alabama Mountain Pedalers, and I volunteered to be vice president. Followed that to be president for 6 years and on the SORBA board for a while. I actually applied for the associate director position when Terry Palmieri, the former executive director, got the job in 2014, and they told me I needed more experience. So I kept doing what I was doing, worked with our local tourism bureau, was involved with mountain biking, was a NICA coach, worked and managed at a bike shop. And then it came about again in 2020 to start in 2021 to be associate director. And I applied again, and here I am. Like, it just is, it's one small decision kind of changed the whole course of where I was going.
Now, what's interesting is like your degree and background and all that stuff. A lot of times this is career now, right? But you started out totally different space. You didn't grow up in Auburn, you grew up in Atlanta, right?
I grew up in Atlanta, yeah.
So you were riding that kind of stuff and having fun and doing all those kind of things. But then you ended up at Auburn for graphic design school. Is that accurate?
Yep.
And then graduate from there. Did you ever end up working? Did you work professionally as a graphic designer, or I know photography is another side of it, but did you work as a graphic designer at all?
Yeah, I was a lowly intro designer at an ad agency in Atlanta, working like 80 hours a week, like doing the thing, which they'll tell you in graphic design school. When I started, they were like, all right, look left and looked right. One of these two people are not going to be doing this in 10 years. And I was like, yeah, bull crap, whatever. And then sure enough, I was not doing it in 10 years after I graduated.
Yeah.
It's a hustle. And the people that make it through the whole design agency world is kudos to them, because I don't have that. Like,
I don't know, man. It's also like Turnover City, USA. It's like not just leaving. You see, my brother he's a creative director. I can't even remember the name of the agency. He's bounced from so many. Like, he literally has jumped from agency to started out in Mobile and then bounced and bounced and bounced. Lived in Iowa for a while. Like, he has bounced, but each step is like another move up that. But designers just constantly have to chase that next tier, whereas I skipped all that and was like, screw it. I'm just going to open my own because I just don't want to deal with it anymore. And approach it. So part of that is you're working as a designer. Obviously, were you still involved in mountain biking during that window? Or
it's weird. So when I was in school, my senior project was a bike shop. Like, you had to come up with this fictitious thing.
Yeah.
And I developed a bike shop. And the whole premise of it was a bike shop that was also a community center in downtown Atlanta.
Love it.
I was more of a road cyclist then. And it was geared around commuting. So you'd come in and you'd have locker rooms and you'd have like coffee, and then there'd be a bar for you to hang out afterwards. So it was always like, there was always this development of community and bikes in my world. And it just kind of ended up, that's what I do now.
I mean, you can't argue the fact that is like literally looking back, like that's destiny. If there ever was such a thing as destiny, because essentially that's what you're doing now. It's communities and bikes together.
Yeah. Like, and I didn't know that was what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to make like cool designs, because really I started doing graphic design because I wanted to make t-shirts and skateboards. Like, that was what I wanted to do. And I still make t-shirts, which is part of the fun of being a graphic designer. But yeah, like, I didn't know that bikes and community was really what it was. It just, that seemed like a good excuse to make t-shirts and stuff.
We should maybe we'll rope you into throwing one of your t-shirts into our waffle mix. One of 10.
Yeah.
Like, just put it out there and it'll be like, that'd be rad to have like a Darden, here it is. And we'll give you a little kickback, or we'll donate to a chapter, or do whatever, or donate to ourselves.
Make mountain biking happen. That's all I care. Like, dude, I'll do a design. Just make mountain biking happen. That's all I care about.
I guess I think it's interesting because one of the things, obviously you've listened to the show, we were joking about earlier, but one of the things that's been very important to us that happened is that we exist. The rebellion exists not because we were pissed at IMBA, right? There's maybe some frustration, and I'm sure you've heard and dealt with it, and I'm not here to like play that game. But we ended up building out the Reb because we got to a point where it was like, hey, we need something that the community's not that our local IMBA chapter wasn't providing, but we had this more like-minded group that needs to figure this stuff out. And we needed to figure out some things for ourselves. Like, we wanted to build trails, and we wanted to make new stuff, and we wanted to challenge ourselves. And unfortunately, one of the things we ran into is we had a lot of limitations in certain spaces. So we had to rebel. We had to become our own thing. The weird part was all it did was it was never a rebellion in the true sense, but as a rebellion, it backfired. And what happened is we took the IMBA community and made it better. It's essentially what we did. We rebelled from nothing, because now every member of the Reb is a member of IMBA. So it does, or our local chapter, Samba.
Yeah.
And so it did that. So I guess where I'm going with this, the whole question is, where'd my IMBA dues go? I'm just kidding.
Well, and that's like that's
that was
one
a
of the-
joke tee up. If you want to answer it, I'll take it. But that was just a setup for
what I love in like being a listener of the podcast is the whole character arc of
he
what
told me
you
this
guys have done. Like you started out, and it was kind of a dig on your local chapter. Like you guys were not getting what you wanted out of it.
True story.
And you know
and I'm a
that's
part of it, which made it even better.
yeah. So I met Dale at our SORBA summit in Tallahassee in 2022.
Yeah, it must have been.
Yeah.
It was 22. It was
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
old building.
Yeah.
And Dale was telling me all about everything.
Wait.
Because
Wait. Let's go to the truth. How many times did he tell you, sober or drunk, that he has a podcast?
A million.
yeah, at least 3. At least 3 times.
That's how this podcast has grown. It's not organically. It's with a megaphone that I don't possess.
yeah.
It's the bullish version of it. Zero drop my ass. I'm going to bullhorn you into it. Yeah.
I'm like the Allen of podcasts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct. The
Wait,
soft member of
podcast.
podcast.
And he would say, "Oh well, I've got this podcast, Ride the Rebellion, Sweet Potato Mountain Bike Crew. I'm also Hero Summit." I'm like, which one is this dude? Like who? Like
Who is this
But
guy?
I figured like now I know that that's just in general. Like everybody's like, who's the association? But anyway, so there's so many chapters out there. I think that kind of resonate with what you guys have got going on, and that's one of the reasons why I reached out and was like, hey, like I want to come down and talk about this because, you know, we're at a crux position for mountain biking where riding is definitely changing, and it's changed so much over the last 5 years. And the type of riding that people are looking for with the availability of bike parks, with the availability of like the way that bikes work and how they ride. And I think that what's happening here is kind of like a small microcosm of what happens just in a lot of areas. And I think it's an important story to talk about and just share.
Well, it for us, I think it's one of the things of when I was kind of thinking about stuff. I tried to not go. You know, I told you I wouldn't, and I'm not. But I didn't want to go like investigative journalism style and come down because it's obviously we're very honored that you're having this conversation with us, and because it is value. And I know from running a business, right? I have to look at the sum of all parts. I often look and I'm like, man, this employee or this group or this whatever, they're struggling a little bit. And so I give them attention. Then someone else feels neglected. Or right now, like Justina used to not be in my office. And she's our producer. And so Justina, who's at a Dirt Coaster Academy class right now, Justina is now in my office. Well, the president of the company sits across there, right? I just own it, but I'm not smart enough to run it. And so what's happened is I can tell that me and Justina have gotten closer, and now she's feels a little neglected. So now I have to go back over and make sure. So from an organizational side, it's the same thing. You have these little pockets like us. I get it. We're not in the space of normal. We're not adding diddly squat to tourism numbers. We can't help your argument. And so I think what happens is a lot of us, the smaller ones, the smaller little groups probably start to feel not neglected, but the reality of it is we can never be a reflection of what is up in the higher parts of the states where there's mountains, right? We're trail riders. We can't be a reflection. We have to be our own thing. And and I think if I'm being really candid, I think some of the frustration is, I think a lot of times, this is what we talk about on the show, mountain bikers try to reflect themselves as pink bikers. Never going to happen. As I learned, Phoenix, totally different group, and their world out there is totally different. Or, you know, Chattanooga, Knoxville, where you are now in that space. We can't be a reflection of them because we don't have that same environment, right? But it also can't be expected of us to be a reflection of that as well. What we have to be is our own thing. And I think that's what I'm excited about to have conversations about is like, can we look at the future and say, well, wait a second, the group down there is different. So that's what we are. We're different. We acknowledge it. We love it. We embrace it. You may not get to ride the shit you would ride up in Knoxville or Chattanooga or Pisgah, but what you are going to get, hopefully, is walking away with those guys are, and that group is so much fun. I enjoy spending time with them that I like to come through there and ride their trails. You don't have to ride them more than once a year, but when you come in, it's like, yeah, we're having a good time. That kind of vibe is what I'm after. Is that where you kind of see the development of like these smaller groups? Is that what you're kind of referring to? Is that what we're looking at going forward? Is because we can't all always match the same standard. It's impossible. You have to have those standards. I'm not denying that, but
yeah.
Do you have thoughts on that?
Well, so 2 things. I think when you get down to it, and it's funny just visiting different groups and going across the Southeast and experiencing different chapters, is that a lot of the people are all the same.
No, interesting.
Like the people that hold the trail director position, it's the same dude. Like, and it's usually a dude, unfortunately. But it's like, they're kind of gruff. They're kind of like a little bit standoffish. They have strong opinions about what they're doing.
Can we just insert a picture of Chase just real quick?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
and Chase somehow is the president of his chapter.
yeah, but he was the trail director.
Yeah, right.
You know, and it's the same person. So, and the people that fill these roles, it was really weird when I came to this like idea, because I knew my group, I knew my chapter, and I knew what they were like, and I knew what a couple other chapters like. But like driving around and visiting different groups, it's like, holy crap, everybody is the same.
Right.
And they just kind of find their roles. And you hit on the point of, you know, so many communities are not going to be Chattanooga, Brevard, you know, even Birmingham and Oak Mountain. Like, they're not going to be there. They're not going to draw in these tourism dollars. And so I'm trying to find opportunities to get the economic impact of what a local community does and what local trails do for their community.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that will resonate so much with a lot of our organizations that, you know, you're not going to have this influx of people that are going to come to ride your trails. Mm-hmm. It might be secondary, but you're going to have people that are going to move to a neighborhood because there's trails close by and they can ride their bike from their house to the trail, and how that impacts the community. I think that that's even more important than what tourism dollars are going to do. So that's like one of the big things that I'm trying to figure out and get somebody to do an economic impact study. But those things are freaking expensive.
Oh yeah, they're crazy expensive. They do them. I deal with it in the film industry. So just so you know, like, I deal with tax incentives, and right now I'm in a huge fight with the state. Someone is trying to rewrite the bill. So it's the same political games that we have to play where you're dealing with that. They did an economic study, and the study came out and they used Georgia. So here's what I mean by this. It's a real challenge on that side of it. They use Georgia as a model for Alabama. So we have film tax incentives, but if people don't know, Atlanta, Georgia, it makes more movies than Hollywood, like the majority of it. They use the economic impact from Georgia and said that dollar worth, every dollar spent in state by a movie, they said it was worth $9 to the state of Georgia. They said that's the same thing in Alabama. That is mathematically impossible. Mm-hmm. Georgia generated like $350 million plus of production, whatever it is. Someone got maybe $1 billion. It's a crazy number. We had like 70 million. That doesn't make sense. And so it became this real issue. And so to your point, I think that's the challenge. I love the idea. It's genius. If you can find that, like, I don't even know how to get there, but that's what we need. If you show a community impact, that goes beyond the dollar, because now it's people living that's spending, you know, because they look at the tax dollar turnover, and suddenly a lifetime value of a homeowner is 10, let's just say average value of cities in a house is 10 years. That's 10 years worth of taxes. That if mountain bike trails help land that, that's a huge economic impact, right?
Yeah.
Versus like, I'm here for a weekend. That's a big impact, and you take the numbers and multiply it, but the lifetime value is much better. So it's an interesting concept. Me personally, it gives me goosebumps. Seriously, I get excited about that stuff.
It's a quantifiable thing. You know, like, we can talk about mountain bikes and how it affects communities because we know what it does, like the group. But you talk to somebody that doesn't know mountain biking and doesn't know how to ride. You do not need the WWF. That's not yours. You're not the welterweight champion of the world.
By the way, he's not talking to me. He looks like he's talking to me. He's talking to the dog.
Yeah, my dog Eleanor's here. She's checking everything out, stretching.
She's probably smelling dirty.
But what governmental entities understand are dollars and cents and quantifiable data. And we don't have that. So many stick and ball groups, sure, there's tons of data because every single small town in America has a baseball diamond. They have a football field. They have soccer fields. And so there's comparables. And we're so young as a sport, as being a legit sport, and sport's weird. Like, I've listened to some podcasts and it's actually an activity. It's not really a sport. It's things that we do outside. It's an activity.
It's not cheerleading.
Because you can, activity. Yeah, well, and a sport implies competition, and you can ride a mountain bike and never compete, never ever race, and have a great time doing it. So there's just not enough time, and we haven't been around for long enough to have that quantifiable data that's incredibly important for further development in all communities.
And I think that some of it could be difficult to quantify, to measure, because like we helped each other as a community get through COVID, like because of mountain biking.
Yeah.
You know, like, and mountain biking helped a lot of communities in that regard. And I think that would be really difficult. Like, you can't measure mental health.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you go in there and be like, hey, we have this group of 200 people in a 300,000 area person?
Here's my only thing. Here's my thing about we said the C word, so we're into it.
Yeah.
The thing about COVID was, if you look at what happened, COVID caused this. Were you at the bike shop then?
Oh yeah, I worked at a bike shop.
Okay,
there.
so great. So we look at COVID. COVID causes this massive, and I am not, by the way, I am going to say this directly, Lynn's, just so people know I'm sincere. This is not making light of anyone who passed away or suffered or deal long-term effects. That is not it. I'm only going to talk about economic impact for a second. It royally fucked economic impact up because it created a false surge on a lot of fronts. My business included. We surged because people needed video to communicate. So my numbers from the pandemic were higher. So like we had to throw those out and say, okay, that was not a realistic number. I know for a fact, and I'm going to put you on camera talking about it. You were a bike shop. You were the manager of James Bros, right? At that time?
Yeah.
That was absolute effing chaos, was it not?
Yeah, it was. We sold bikes hand over fist, and we were also like appointment only. So it was me and another dude slinging as much as we possibly could until we couldn't get any more. And then what really drove me out of wanting to work in a bike shop, I loved like working in a shop. We also had beer.
And you're a legit shop though. James Bros is a legit shop.
Yeah, like we had beer on draft, and it was again like bikes and community. Like I wanted a place for people to come hang out.
Right.
It's so weird that that's like this continuous theme. But
Not on this show.
when when COVID happened, we shut down the bar, so nobody came and hung out, and that kind of bummed me out. And then I loved like just being able to share what I like about bikes and getting people psyched about riding bikes.
Yep.
And always saying yes, like, you want to do that? Yeah, we can get that. Yeah, I can do that. Like, yes. And then when I had to start saying no, I just was like, I'd go home every day and was just like, I can't do this anymore, man. Like it's too much. But it is like, and you can even look at SORBA numbers. I wasn't with SORBA at the time, but our membership numbers skyrocketed because philanthropy organizations, everybody was given. Like everybody was like, here you go. And now we've seen a leveling off, but basically if you drew a straight line from pre-COVID to post-COVID, membership numbers it'd be the same like trajectory. It just, there was a huge jump and then we've just leveled off.
Yeah, it's just a weird thing where, at least for me, I just feel like a lot of times I saw a lot of decisions getting made based on what happened during COVID. And the bike industry, huge. I mean, it looks now like the stuff's starting to get cheap and things are like, prices are dropping drastically and there's fire sales and stuff. And I think even Andy had mentioned like there was some product, like they were seeing like a dip in sense of not sales, but like
Not like Bud Light dip.
not like a Bud Light dip. That's 21%. But they are seeing something where there's a shift and things are dropping down and all that. The thing that's fascinating was the thing that seemed to be a constant was the community grew, right? In the sense of, and what I mean by communities, it may not be numbers, but it may be that tension, that bond between people grew from that. So now you have like riders who are back in the game. Dale is a prime example of that, who probably wasn't taking his role very seriously. I'm not throwing you under the bus, but I'm going to drive over you a couple times.
Good.
But wasn't probably taking his role very seriously. But post-COVID, now all of a sudden realizes there's a big community, and we see a surgence from our local Samba chapter and that side of it. So, I mean...
Yeah, I think it was during COVID, it was... Before, it was like, oh, we're just a bunch of a-holes riding bikes. But then it was like, shit, this is like people that we need to impress and like bring into the community. Like they need us as much as we need them. And I think that was why Samba grew. I mean, you know the numbers. We grew from like 40 members to 200 in no time. And I mean, that's a testament to the soft member. He did a lot of that. But it's like they're renewing. A lot of them are, you know. So it's like they've seen the value in what the local chapter brings. I think that sometimes it's like the funny thing is we told some people that you were coming and they're like, wait, SORBA'S coming here? But why? Like it was they just didn't get, like, they're like, we're the redheaded stepchild of the mountain bike world in Alabama, especially. And so it was kind of like, well, yeah, we are a chapter of them, you know, like we are making waves, you know, we are riding our bikes. And it was the same with Fox though. Like Andy was like, dude, it was great to see all these people with Fox stuff in the woods. And I think that's what we started out to do, is like prove that we are the same as those people, you know, like I think we are the same.
But that's one of the things that's interesting. I feel like it's a huge win on you being in the spot. Mm-hmm. You came from, and I don't know any of the past ones because I didn't, back when I rode 20 years ago, like I was the same way. I rode for a while. I took a nasty injury and then I quit. And so then I came back just after the pandemic. It was like at the end of 21, whatever it was. And so I came back into it. So it's interesting to see that now, like I joined IMBA because I was like, somebody took care of these trails, or I joined Samba, but somebody took care of these trails. I mean, obviously I owe them something. So I felt like it was just an honorary thing, just throw some money at them and be like, hey, thanks. I'm just going to ride and do my thing. And then I started seeing that there was community that was centered on it. And that's what I think is very fascinating.
And if you didn't join, Alan would chastise you.
He would. He was very...
We've said his name too many times.
I know. Now he's on the hook.
Yeah.
He doesn't listen anymore. He's too busy.
He's the soft member on this.
I figured out who he was pretty early on listening.
Some people are like, who's a soft member?
I think we painted a pretty broad picture of like, hey, who's the biggest a-hole you know but does seem to get shit done? And they're like, oh yeah, Alan, we got it.
Yeah.
It was when you said that he knew everything about you before you knew who he was. Just like, because I know who the soft member is and like, and what he does for a living. And I was like, I'm genuinely afraid that he may know more about me than I know about me.
He certainly has a special set of skills. There is no doubt.
Yeah.
But I think what's fascinating is the community side of stuff. If the approach and the viewpoint that you're kind of positioning, which is awesome, is this community side. You came from the community.
Yeah.
So if that's what we're going to see going forward, I think what you're going to end up with is that I don't think it's bad. There's always going to be people that don't agree with organization. That's just the reality of it, right? But there's people that don't agree with what we do.
No,
there's people
absolutely.
that trash us a lot, that we're dangerous and we're
janky and we ride junky stuff. We don't know what we're doing and we're getting people hurt. Like, okay, well, they're outside, so
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, they did it themselves. But maybe what ends up happening is that side of it, people don't go that way. They're excited, like we were, that you're coming. Like, so if SORBA is going to show up, or SORBA mentioned, it's a badge of excitement that, hey, we're part of that group too. And there's that. So I think building that up more, because as I was kind of referencing earlier, is like if we hold ourselves to be like, oh, well, we're never going to be that, then you're going to live under this mentality that I'm never going to be part of it. I'm always going to be the outsider. Bullshit. We ought to be known as the most fun party community. And I mean, because once you're done with our 9 miles of trails, like the only thing left to do is eat crawfish and drink beer. I mean, that's what people should, that's what we should be known for down here. So I think it's interesting that you have that sort of platform on the community side.
Yeah, why not? Like, that's the fun of mountain biking, is to get done and sit in the parking lot and drink a beer.
Right.
Like, and hang out and shoot the shit and like talk to people. And, you know, they may just be your riding friends. Like, you don't hang out and go to the movies with them on a Friday night, but you know what? They're your good friends in the parking lot.
That's right. We very rarely have ever met each other's spouses. Like, for the most part, you know, unless your spouse rides. Like, we have, because we're friends. But, I mean, like, a lot of the dudes we ride with, we've never met their families.
No,
know?
most of them, I wouldn't know them. I wouldn't know what to say or do. Or I wouldn't even know how to act in front of them. Like, do I need to make eye contact, or do we just tap my foot 3 times? Wait, what do I do? Yeah, we run from it. What? All right, so let me jump to this, because I feel like we can talk about more about that as much as you want. You can work it in however you want. You're the president or executive director. That's your job. By no means am I asking you to pick favorites here, but you've obviously ridden a lot. And I know that Standing Boy, you enjoy a trail there. Mm-hmm. You talked about Goldilocks earlier. But in your territory of regular riding, which you get around a good bit, what are some of the trails that you feel like are, first off, what's your favorite trail? And then my next question would be, what's the most overlooked trail? What's the trail that nobody knows about?
Oh, so the trail that nobody knows about.
Answer.
Outside of what we rode today, honestly, I can't remember any of the names.
I don't think it's good. It's really good that you don't.
Maybe Poop Shoot might have been one of them. I don't know.
No, but that's a good one.
Dang it, that's what we call the rampage into the Poop Shoot.
But I think like probably, and honestly, there's good trail everywhere. That's the big lesson to learn, is that there's good trail everywhere. And if you don't have these preconceived ideas of what trail is going to be, just go out and ride and have a good time. Like Caloosahatchee, CRP down in Fort Myers-ish, Florida. It's flat. It's Florida. But man, it's a ton of fun. It's pedally. It's crazy. And you can go and do like 12, 14 miles an hour. When I met Dale in Tallahassee, the Munson trails, it's even the Tallahassee folks, least favorite trails there. Had a blast. We had fun. Hauling.
Yeah, we were
hauling.
Right.
But I think overall, the most overlooked trail system is going to be the Ridgeline trails over in Jackson, Mississippi.
Interesting. You've ridden those, right?
Dude.
No, we haven't done Ridgeline.
I went to Bonita.
It's like, it's 60-ish acres, and that place is
It's
overlooked.
the private park.
Well, so you have to be a member of the chapter. They're like our third or fourth largest chapter.
Really?
Yeah, so you have to be a member of the chapter because they are leasing the land for not a lot of money. And you have to be a member of the chapter to ride those trails, or a member of SORBA. And they are freaking awesome. Like, that's a fun trail.
Somebody's talked about them to me before, and I cannot remember who it is. They were on this show, and we talked about it. Maybe it's John Mackey?
Well, I think I know
Somebody's
somebody
brought them up before, and they said that they were fantastic, but I always confuse them with Mount Zion, I guess.
No, that's Brookhaven. Mount Zion's in Brookhaven.
Got
Yeah,
it.
so like Zach and Chris Wise and all those crew over there.
And
It's
what's the bike shop over there?
uh
I just met him.
Jeremy Polk
Yeah,
is
I just met
the
him
owner of
at,
Bicycle
Bogue-
Revolution.
Yeah, I met him at Bogue Chitto a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he said we need to come over there.
I mean, you don't think a lot about good riding in
Yeah.
Mississippi. Let's be real. And I mean, you talk about riding in Alabama, outside of Alabama, and people are like, "Oh, there's no good riding in Alabama." There's really good riding in Alabama.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. Like, these guys have taken a very small piece of land and made a really, really fun trail system out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen the Strava maps of it, and it's like a ant farm.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's all zigzag. Like, you can probably see all the trails every time you're on another trail.
Yeah, it's
side by side.
It's really a lot like the Reb in that you don't really see them as you're riding because the terrain is what it is and the trees are what it is. So you don't get a lot of glimpses of other trails and other riders. But man, it's a ton of fun. Like, that's a ton of fun.
That's not far. We should head over there.
Yeah, it's worth a trip. It's worth a trip to go ride. And then Knoxville is, I mean, I'm there for the summer. So I got the opportunity to spend the summer living in Knoxville. I can leave from the house that I'm staying at, ride 5 miles of pavement, or half mile, sorry, 0.5 miles of pavement, and I'm on single track.
Right.
And I can be at Baker Creek on single track in like 5 miles. And you look at it like, what do you want your daily driver to be? You guys talked a lot about cars last episode. So your daily driver is something that's going to be reliable and fun.
Right.
Like, it'll kick it up, but you're not going to be driving a 69 Chevelle every single day. Yeah, that's a boatload of fun. But you're going to drive something that's going to be a good time and that you want to get in it every single day. And that's what Knoxville is.
That's what you marry.
Yeah.
That's where you marry.
Yeah. And so the opportunity to be there for the summer, like, that is, and they've done it all grassroots. You know, it's Bentonville with actual soul.
No.
Yeah, that's rad.
Yeah, it's I'll never forget the time we went to Bentonville for the IMBA World Summit. And me and my friends were going out, and I can hear my buddy from across the bar. He's loud. He's got a good Southern accent. He's like, "This place is a facade. It's just a facade." And it's like, oh God, that Sparkle Donkey is really talking right now. But I mean, like, there is no depth and soul. Like, Bentonville is great and it's amazing and it's a ton of fun to go ride, but there's not a lot of soul behind it because there's just been a ton of money thrown at it.
Yep.
And you know, places like Knoxville, it's there's soul there because they've had to work for it and they've dug and like been at it for the last like 13, 15 years. Like, they've really, really worked at it. And I appreciate that. And you can feel the community vibe behind it.
Yeah, there's no doubt that like anything up that way, like, it's the same vibe. And that's why I like Chattanooga so much. I haven't ridden Knoxville as much, but Chattanooga it's an easy drive, and I love the community. They've always been like just super friendly from the get go. One of the guys invited us up to ride. What's their new one? It's not open yet. Maybe
Walden's Ridge.
Walden's
Yeah.
Ridge, yeah.
They were having like parking issues last time I talked to them, but or something city related. But the fact is that they have that stuff. They built, that was an organic sort of vibe up there, as it feels like, and same sort of thing. And hanging out Suck Creek Cycles, a real bike shop. Again, like, I walked in looking around, they just hand me a beer. Like, you want a Coors Light or whatever at the time? And it's like, yeah, I'll take a Pabst and whatever, drinking a beer. That kind of stuff. Building that out, I think, is really fascinating. But that's community driven, right? Mm-hmm. And that's still the cool part is you have like people coming back and forth to hit those places up and make it happen. Knoxville is on the list, though. We just haven't been up that way. What's your take on Standing Boy?
Honestly, that is like one of the best things that happened to that area. It's my house in Opelika. It's 45 minutes from there. Chihuahua State Park, it's about 20 minutes, so it's twice the drive. And I mean, Blake and the whole CVA crew over there have done just such a killer job with that place, raising money, getting it done, and getting like a really, really awesome product on the ground. They've been soft pushing it because parking has been an issue. It's no longer an issue. Access has been a little bit weird. They've gotten it figured out. So now they're really like driving people to go there, and you should go. Like,
Yeah.
it's good.
It's fun. I haven't been since the jump line. Did they get Trail Solutions back on? Is that a Trail Solutions scenario? Do you know?
So Trail Solutions did the layout, and then they've done some builds, and they've also subbed out some of it.
Sweet.
So one of the groups, I met them the last time I was in the parking lot. Pinnacle. Okay. They're based out of New York.
Wow.
Yeah, they were down for those Northerners love to come down to the South in the winter and build trail.
Right.
Because the winter sucks.
Yeah. Like,
Well, that's the trail building season,
Well,
though.
and
Yeah.
Steve that I met at the SORBA Summit from Imba Trail Solutions was one of the designers, I think, of that.
Yeah.
And he lives up there.
Yeah,
He lives in the north.
Maine.
Yeah, he lived on Martha's Vineyard when I met him.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think he's moved to Maine now.
yeah,
But he's building trails in Maine, built tons of trails in West Virginia.
yeah. First time I met him was in the parking lot at Standing Boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's super cool too.
You can't say enough about that place. And it's Columbus is good. It's the second largest city in Georgia. Which
I didn't
you
know
wouldn't
that.
have.
I had no idea.
They've got urban whitewater, so right there on the
also-
Chattahoochee River.
and military base there.
Yeah, big military base. Cool little bar scene, cool restaurant scene. It's a fun town.
Yeah. When we rode, we had a great time. I swung by and I think it was Jakey Poo that was with us. It was because we almost died. It was too hot. It was in the middle of the summer.
No, I almost died at
You
Chewbacca.
died at Chewy, but we had ridden Chewy that with Jake. We went the same thing. We did. There's a great trip. You can hit up Chewy and then bounce over to Standing Boy and like spend one night, and you're just like hell yeah. And then if we've planned one all the way up to Coldwater and back down, so you get all this stuff. But it's great little spot. Brickyard Bikes is there. Those guys are really good over there. Really friendly folks. So it's
Well,
cool
Peter's
spot.
from here,
Yeah.
or lived here for a while.
No, I didn't
Owns
know that.
Brickyard.
Yeah.
You know Peter?
Oh yeah, I know Peter.
Yeah, he used to work at the Trek store. When I first moved here, I met Peter there, and then we did some trail work at the Bug together, and he moved over there and opened up that bike shop.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's a good
Peter went to school at Auburn. I knew him when he was in school at Auburn.
Cool. Yeah, I like Peter.
Is he a design guy?
He's a road bike racer, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
he raced road bikes. Or
yeah.
something?
I don't know. I met him through bikes, not through design.
I just wasn't sure.
Yeah.
he's a hell of a rider too. He's a great rider. We had talked. I'd heard you talk about before photography. Are you still doing photography? We talked a little bit today. We were talking about Fuji and stuff. Is that still something you do?
I do it for me mostly, and I do a lot of stuff for social for SORBA. So like any of the photography work, rather than paying somebody to go out there and do photography, I do it. But it's just an excuse for me to get out in the woods. Is really like,
I get it.
I tote the camera around. I go out in the woods and take pictures of stuff. That's what I like. And cameras have always been a part of my life too. I've got rolls of film from my dad's Nikon that I used to shoot when I was a kid, like 12 years old. So it's like bikes and cameras. That's basically been my life, and here we are doing both of them.
No, I totally get it. I mean, that's the same world. I shot on a old Minolta, and so I have like all this old vintage glass that I've gotten adapters for to use on my cinema cameras and stuff. And I mean, they're different. They're not like what. I mean, I've shot on everything, so I've shot on high-end glass and all the way down the line. But that vintage glass, just because I know it was my dad's, it's just personal, and all of a sudden it's a special lens and it means something, and that kind of vibe. So when you go do stuff, you're doing like landscape stuff, not professionally, but what is the photos what is your connection to them? What are you trying to capture with your imagery?
So there was a long time that I was really focusing on stuff in Alabama. And,
interesting.
Because in general, I think the outdoors in Alabama are underappreciated, and it's a really beautiful state. I would go and try to find these views, whatever it is, be it big landscapes, be it small creeks, waterfalls, just like trying to bring some awareness of the outdoor beauty that Alabama has. And now I'll go and I'll do a hike for an overlook. I love waterfalls, like anything with creeks and water, I'm into it. And then macro stuff, mushrooms, ferns, leaves, textures. Like that's really kind of what I focus on now. It's just like small things that I think are really interesting that often get overlooked.
It's kind of fascinating because it's an interesting juxtaposition from last week where it's like, I'm
Big
taking a
grand.
photo of a car and he's putting that car into space. And then, he's shooting these epic wide shots. I mean, he'll get details, but not, it's the polar opposite of macro, which is the challenge. That's why photography is amazing. It's just like riding, right?
Yeah.
We're still doing the same thing, but I enjoy more enduro-y, downhill-y type vibes. And the guys in Knoxville enjoy way more than I'll ever enjoy. Guys and gals. But like the idea is that we all just share the same, in this case, share the same love of photography.
And
Dale, on the other hand,
DJ, one of our rep guys, is super into like mushroom photography and small stuff. He loves doing it.
He loves
always
macro
posting-
for sure.
As a creative person, I have to have some sort of creative outlet. And a lot of my job, people are like, oh, wow, yeah, you're the executive director of mountain biking. Like, you get to go and do mountain biking all the time. I'm like, yeah. And I also sit on the computer a lot. Like, I'm reading contracts. I'm reading through insurance policies. I'm doing social media stuff. Like, I do a lot of computer work. And it's not the most creative thing sometimes. So like I need that creative itch or else I just go crazy if I don't do something that is at least like an expressive art form.
Is there anything about, like, now that you've had a little bit of run through it, is there anything that stands out that, like, going into this role, stepping into it, that you were just like, okay, woo, all right, I'm ready to challenge, like a challenge that stood out in a way that, like.
Well, let me ask a little bit further into that same thing. Like Sorba and IMBA have an image, right? An image of like 26-inch narrow barred cross country old people. Like it really does. Like when I was going to the summit, this is seriously my perception of, all right, I'm going to go see a bunch of people with tucked in khakis on and, like old people just shaking their hands. And I get there and it wasn't, I found my group of people at the bar, of course, but I found those people, but it was like, there's an image of that is what the like professional side of mountain biking looks like. But you're like, obviously our age and a little bit younger and get the bigger picture of it. Like, hey, we don't have to cater to this 26-inch narrow bar people. Like you can change the whole image of what people perceive of Sorba and IMBA. And so I feel like just coming on here is a good step in that. If that's what your goal is, I mean, obviously you're running it, so you can do whatever you want, but it is like that something that you're looking towards doing, like making it more broad or like taking away that perception.
Yeah. Like progression is the name of the game. Like we're here to develop riders and to give people the experience to ride however they want to. Right. If riding flat cross country trails is your jam and you wear spandex, good for you. Like go have fun. Like, and we need to be able to provide that.
Right.
If you like to do dirt jumps, sweet, go do that. We need to be able to provide that. If you like to do like really chunky kind of natural trail, that's awesome. Like go do that. We need to be able to provide that. And I think that's the perception that a lot of people don't have with trail advocacy is that there's a lot of focus on the details. And I think the details are extremely important in that, being environmentally conscious, being economically conscious, being, good neighbors to the other trail users. Yes, because number one, most of the trail that we work on is on private or public property. It's not on private property, so we got to work with a lot of different user groups. But there's the perception that Sorba and IMBA in general are a no group. There's a lot of no, like no, don't do that. No, don't do that.
That's a great. I mean, that's
It
ours.
is a perception.
And that was my perception when I was the president of my chapter. Like we built a 30-foot road gap in Chihuahua State Park, and it's. As the chapter president, I sweated a lot. Like I was like, oh my God, why are we doing this? Like this is dumb. Like how we're just, but it naturally weeds itself out because you roll up to it and it's like, okay, that's a pretty big freaking jump. Like I'm not even going to remotely touch that. And I want to show people that we're riders. Like there's a lot of people that are coming into the leadership roles in their chapters that are in that position. Like they're riders. Like they get out and they enjoy riding bikes. And they're pretty good at it. I'll never forget when I first got the job and I was telling my friends, they were like, dude, you're going to have to get in shape and like be a really, really good rider. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, you're going to get Sorba Guide. every single time you go to a trail network, you're going to meet the people that have built the trails, that know these trails like the back of their hand, and they're going to try to ride you into the ground. You got to be able to hold pace.
Today. He rode great today.
He rode great.
It's just, but that's 2.5
we didn't try to do
years
that.
of being SORBA guy doesn't matter my belt. And it is true, like, and it's just the natural way of things. Not only you're not
Well, we're also men, right? Like,
Yeah.
There's a hierarchy. Like, oh wait,
Testosterone's a hell of a drug.
testosterone. It is. And adrenaline mixed. Like, I just drank 3 Monsters. I'm ready to do this. Let's go.
Yeah, that's truth.
But they're proud of what they do, and they ride it all the time, so they know it. And I'm coming into it blind, and I've just got to trust the person in front of me.
Right.
And that's what I've learned, and it's also really great because I don't have to get to an intersection. It's like, well, do I go left or do I go right? It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know where I am
Hey,
in
I'm
this
the
place,
SORBA
but
guy.
I'm just following the
I'm the
person.
SORBA guy. Can somebody show me around?
Oh, everybody's like, yes, me. But it's that sharing of it's like a kid with a toy. You know, you got this new remote control car and you go to your friend's house and you're like, guys, look at this. Like, I want to show you my thing. And they're so proud of it and they're so excited about it. And you never say, wow, that was just like unremarkable. It's usually good because you feed off the energy of the people, the stoke that they have on their own trails and why they ride the trails and how they like the trails and like what they've done and the group around it. It's just, man, like I've said it probably 100 times, like this is the best job that I could probably have at this point in time in my life. Like I love what I do. It's incredible. And being able to be a part of so many different communities across the Southeast is just, it's great.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we keep, I mean, obviously that's the theme of this show is community. And one of the takeaways that we've had is, as I've observed, is that there's always this push for growth in the sense of like, because we want to see more riders out there. We want more people out there. When I was in Phoenix, I am a proud member of the Married Not Dead Club. And as a member of that, the number of women riders that I encountered was insane.
Oh, I get what
to
you're
a
saying.
point, yeah. To a point though that I turned and I was talking to James about. I was like, "Man, this is more women on trails than I've seen in a long time, right?" And he was like, "Oh no, out here it's like 50-50." I was like, "Good grief!" And that may be again my experience of my home trails, not so much. The Reb is as diverse as we could possibly ask for in terms of like quantifiable numbers, but in the sense of like reality, we still don't. Justine is at a class now to learn to ride to get better, whatever. And maybe in other sectors, there's more of that. But what I think is fascinating is this idea that we've got to find a way to make community so comfortable that any person in any walk, in any space, wherever they are, it doesn't matter what their scenario is, that they can like show up. And the common language, we may not agree on everything politically, emotionally, socially, whatever it is, but we all have the common language of riding. And I think that's something that's really, really valuable about an organization like what SORBA has. And I look forward to seeing like how that maybe can grow. And I think the only way that grows is not with trails. I don't think so. I think it's with community stuff. Is that sort of, are you guys taking initiatives? Is that part of the conversation to be like, how do we encourage more people to build the community side of things? Is that something that maybe have you thought about or y'all looking at or in your world?
Yeah.
That's not a tee up for a negative. By any
No,
means.
the last summit that we had in Old Fort about a month ago, the whole theme was community and partnerships. Like that was the entire theme of every session, community and partnerships. Like that's what we're hammering home. Over the winter, we did some strategic planning, and it was intentional with me taking over as executive director, is to realign the direction of where we're going and what SORBA is and who we are and how we function. So our new mission statement is super simple, very basic. Everybody should have the mental, physical, and social benefits that mountain bike provides. Like,
That's
boom,
great.
done, easy.
Yeah.
Like, and
Great.
that's what we're here to do. SORBA's here to help you develop your community and be a part of a bigger group to bring more people in. Like it. You talked about number of women riders in Scottsdale, right? Scottsdale.
I was in Phoenix.
Phoenix.
Same thing. Same area.
And so I'm a part of a quarterly call with different executive directors from across the country. And demographic numbers are not much different everywhere. I thought, like, here in the South, I was like, oh man, our demographic numbers are
It's got to be all
suck.
bros. It's going to be all bros.
Yeah, but we were like almost number for number for evergreen up in Washington State.
Wow.
Like almost exactly the same. So what that means is that it's just in general the culture of mountain biking is the same, and that we collectively need to be better about being more inclusive about who we bring in and how we introduce people to mountain biking.
Yeah, it's one of those things we've talked about before, like with Carrie and some other players. Like, we are not, you can't get rid of bro culture in the sense of, like, I don't mean douchebag's a douchebag. It doesn't matter where they are. But the bro culture side, that's part of it. It's the history of the sport. It's some of it in there. But what we can do is turn around and be like a little more conscious of the idea of, like, maybe that bro culture, if there's like, because we've seen it a few times, Dale's been very good about getting more riders in, but we might have somebody in the parking lot that identifies in this, that not with the bro culture at all. Guy, girl, whatever they identify as. And so in that space, it's making sure that we're like, hey, just come ride. Like, we're not, that's the zero drop concept of, like, getting rid of this idea of, like, even speed. Because all of a sudden, if you put speed up, right, and you have this dude that's been like, oh, Dale's fast. But if I'm going to go on a run with Dale and Dale's leading a run or a ride, like, you can't drop everybody. What the fuck good does that do? All you've done is just make someone feel like shit.
Right.
So why would you want to ride a bike again if you feel like shit? And I don't mean the physical part. I'm talking about an emotional drop that happens. And I think that goes back to it. That makes me super stoked. For real. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to see. And the message, the new, that's fantastic. Simple. It's effective.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. That's how we're going to see change and, like, see growth in a good way and long term.
Well, we've
Long-term
had
growth.
we've had to talk about, like, the female thing. Like, we know there's a thing with the women in our chapter, or not women in our chapter for that matter. But so we've talked about it, but, like, what we have deduced, like, locally, it's not comfortable to ride here. Like, it's either buggy,
Yeah.
it's super hot. The trails that are not the Reb trails are super rooty and it's hard to ride. So it's like females tend to say, all right, I'm going to take a
Well, there's
rain
not enough
check."
guidance is what we
Well,
found.
that too, yes. So it was like, we need to, like,
I mean, team guidance, like, to collective.
right, yeah, collectively. So it's like, it's really hard to get them, and just like the youth thing with Bug, it's like youth and women, right? Like, to try to get them excited and women excited on there's two different trail systems, right? Like, to get a youth kid excited and a female excited are way two different. And there's no knock on either side of it. It's just the riding styles would be totally different, you know?
Not to shill, but that's exactly the reason why SORBA needs to exist.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Is because they can help enable those.
Exactly.
Because the biggest thing, and I'm not speaking for you now, I'm just going to, this is personal opinion. I'm just making sure because you're, leadership side. The biggest takeaway that I hear when people complain about, like, where'd my IMBA dues go or my SORBA dues or whatever, if someone cranks up that language, they ride typically one trail.
Yep.
They ride their home trails only, and they never leave the damn state, much less their city.
Right.
And because they're not out there riding, they're missing the point of all of it.
Yeah.
Like, my contribution doesn't just affect my home trails. Does it? Yes, a portion of it. But it also affects all those great trails I go ride all over the place. Like, it affected the trails. My IMBA money affected trails that I rode in Phoenix, Arizona. It'll affect the trails that I ride in Chattanooga all the time. I'm not members of all those chapters.
Right.
But my one bit of membership, I know the money gets parsed out, and I get it, and that's politics on the other side. But, like, it does affect that way, and I think that's a huge
Well,
takeaway.
the other thing is, like, I'm a middle-aged white male. I cannot go stand on a street corner and be like, women, come ride with me in the woods.
Yeah.
Right? Like, or kids, like, not kids, but, like, 20-year-olds, come ride with me in the woods. Like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
But, like, an organization can do that,
Yeah.
right? So that's where we all have to look maybe to work together more to do those kind of things, Like, we say Samba, but even when we make a post about, like, Samba's doing an event, it still doesn't scream like everybody's welcome. Everyone is, and we've tried to do, if you show up, you realize, like, everyone is. But, like, to advertise it, it's really, really hard to try to break into that. And we've had kids rides that were big, but guess who brought all the kids? The dads.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's really tough.
And it's a thin line when you advertise it and you put it out there of, actually being inclusive or just doing it because you're supposed to, or like making it a front.
That's
That's
the
the
truth.
difference.
Because everybody can sniff that out.
Yeah.
And, like, anybody that's ever, and it doesn't matter what it is, whether you're me that I tell the story, Dale at first was very nice to me and made me feel included. Now he made fun of me behind my back, but at the beginning he didn't. But that gave me enough energy to keep riding.
Yeah.
Right. Even me, just even not even talking about like the typical prototypical inclusivity remarks. There's also the side of like, take that plus then the novice factor. So now you might feel outside and then outside again.
Yeah.
And that's really going to push you away. So to your point, if I feel like you're just peddling, and I think if you're just pushing this agenda, I think a lot of people pick up on it. I think that's awesome. A good point.
Yeah, and what you were saying about the street corners. So at the summit this time, we had a panel discussion that was talking about building a diverse rider group, and we had representatives from different organizations across the region that were on this panel. And I was coming up with the idea of it, and was like, I can't be the person that is the MC to this. Like me as a middle-aged white dude, like
Right.
Yeah.
I can't facilitate this conversation. So I reached out to Natalie, who's the executive director of Pisgah area SORBA, and was like, "Hey, will you do this? Because you're the right person to do this. It's not me. Like I can't lead this conversation. You need to lead this conversation."
Right.
She was like, "Heck yeah, let's do that." And we
Right.
did, and it was awesome. But it's like it's hard from what your typical demographic is of mountain bikers, which is us, like
Yeah,
middle-aged
Actually,
white
and
guys.
all listeners right now.
Yeah, to
Based on our
say,
stats.
we need to do better about bringing in diverse folks, because it can't be us that leads that conversation.
No.
It's people like Carrie that's here local,
Right.
who's an incredible person. She's got to lead that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the people up in Knoxville again, the AMBC Joyride. It's a women-led group. They need to lead that conversation, and they need to have that space provided that they will do those. They'll do those group rides, and it's our job in that entire thing is to be okay with providing the space to make those things
Well,
happen.
and I think that the new mission statement helps this, because then people say, "Why do we need women? Why do we need that? Why do we need diversity?" Be
Because
like,
everybody.
because the mission statement, like
Yeah.
Right.
mental health,
It becomes
and
a flag, right? It
Right,
becomes like
yeah.
a flag, a banner for us to all get behind,
right?
as opposed
it's
to it
not
being
a
like
woke
segmented.
It's not a woke thought, right? It's
that's not a
being a
woke statement.
better human thought.
Well,
right?
somebody even asked the question through like email or social media, is like, well, what about e-bikes? And I was like, well, there you go. Yeah, that's being inclusive. Like, we need to include the
Ah,
whole
there it
e-bike
is, right.
conversation in there. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't even think about it in that aspect, but you know, I've got a good friend back in Auburn that he's like gung ho on his e-bikes right now, and he's getting out and he's riding and like shredding.
We have a member that like that he'll tell you straight up, like if he rode analog Amish bikes, but if it wasn't for the e-bike, he lost something like 60 pounds from riding a bike, and he's healthier for it. Not right now because he's had a few wrecks. Because now the mofo sends it. Like
Now he just crashes all
yeah,
the time.
he's just like,
His
but he
heart-
wouldn't be
his
in that
heart health is
spot.
better.
Yeah,
You know,
is he stoked? Yes. Is
Yeah.
he riding? Yes. Are they having a great time? Heck yeah! Like
Are his
that's
bones broke? Yeah, absolutely.
but that's what we're here to do. We're here to provide
not break
access.
bones, not to break bones.
Yeah, yeah. We're here to provide access to have those experiences. That is entirely our role as an organization, as a chapter, as a local community. We're just here to help provide those experiences.
What gets you removing that best you can? I know it's part of your livelihood. What gets you excited about riding now, like technology wise or looking forward? But I mean, what do you look at that is to the future and be like, okay, this is where do you find your stoke when you look towards the future? What gives you stoke on that side of things?
Like on the bike product side of things?
Sure, I know you're a bike shop guy. I think you've got a little bit of tech in you. You seem like you have a little tech in you.
Yeah, but I really like the analog side of bikes. Like I've ridden some with the electronic shifting. I like cable actuated shifting. I like suspension a lot and kind of fiddling with suspension. Again, the Not Stock Photo guy was talking about his Revel. I borrowed a buddy's Revel. That bike is I borrowed his Ranger. And the only reason I don't look at the Rascal is because of the name. I think the name is just dumb.
Yeah.
But the purple Rascal and the way that the shorter travel bike pedaled, I'm like, that's the bike for me. That's probably one of the bikes for me. But the ability of that like 130 to 150 travel range bike and what that bike can do now.
It's gotten, to me, it's crazy. Like
I think that all the
efficiency
brands are
measure-
doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Common Cell came out with one
Yep.
too. Like
Yep.
it's the new trail bike.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's the efficiency side of it. You can climb, ride, you can jump. it's kind of crazy that it took them this long to realize that, but that seems to be, I guess.
Well, I think the geometry helps too. Like they tested geometry on those long travel bikes because my Camber's a 130 travel bike.
Yeah.
But it doesn't ride anywhere near like the YT Izzo or, the new Common Cell Tempo. Like there's no way it rides like that just because we talked about it earlier. We set on a bike or in a bike, right? So that's the difference, I think.
And I'm riding a trail bike. I ride a 140 Process 134. Like that's the bike I ride. That's my full suspension bike. My hardtail is a single speed with a 140 fork, steel frame Reeb. But like, I don't know, just the way that those bikes ride and how you can ride really diverse trail on the same bike. Because I'll do anything from like Jared's, which I kind of wish I'd have a bigger bike at Jared's. But then I ride like stuff down in Florida, all on that bike.
Yep.
And it can do it. It's just not maybe the most ideal bike for all the situations.
I think it's interesting because I think the price point wise, it'll start to level out. And, we have the Surge side of things. Remove that. It'll level out. And those all trail bikes like that are going to end up being beast where you can spend a little more. And especially if you've ridden for a while, not like a first time full sus, but like if you're in that spot and you're like, man, this trail bike, like, I kind of wish I would have gotten the Pistola, which is, I ride a Gorilla Gravity. That's their hybrid, which is that. It has that same vibe. I wish I would have gone down that path because I would have had a little more climbing. It would have been a better all-around bike. And I think it's fascinating that we're getting to that point.
Well, that's the other thing is like we can't own just one bike now.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
We have to have a whole bunch just to fit like I want an e-bike, I want a single speed, I want, like every time I think about it and then I'm like, oh, but I want a Jeep too.
Yeah.
So it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And I want a wife, so I can't have any of those things.
Right.
I've got 2 mountain bikes, but if you went through like my collection of bikes, it's stupid because, you work at a bike shop and
Right.
you collect a lot of stuff. And I think kind of shifting the conversation like trail wise, one of the trends that I'm seeing now that I'm really stoked about is this direction more towards the less polished and kind of at least some elements of hand built. People are hiring professional trail builders to get out there and hand build trail.
Yeah.
Which I think is pretty cool. I love riding all types, but my favorite is like kind of that old school hand built through the trees. It's going to be tight. You feel like you're going 40 miles an hour when you're going like 8 miles an hour.
Yep.
And just like that element is something that has been missed because of, what some people would say is the sanitation of trails that a lot of chapters were doing. But that's the most bang for your buck for like fun and diversity.
That's what I was going to say. That gets people on bikes because it's easier.
Yeah.
Right.
People always ask me, they're like,
smoother.
how do I build my organization? I was like, well, you have a really good 1 to 2 mile beginner trail. Like at Standing Boy. Like they did it right there. They built the beginner trail first. And that green trail that they have, I can't remember the name of it.
It's off off to the left of the parking lot or whatever. It's not attached to the primary mountain.
Yeah,
Right,
and it just kind of goes out by itself and then comes back.
So fun though.
Man, if you're a good rider and you rip it, like that thing is a ton
so
of fun.
Yeah.
And that's the sign of a good trail.
Yep.
Is where an experienced rider can go out and ride it and a beginner rider can go out and ride it and everybody is stoked and had a good time.
Yeah.
And being able to provide that opportunity. But yeah, the hand-built trail is kind of the thing that I'm stoked to see more like professional hand-built trail coming out because it brings back that East Coast tight.
The Tails Trail is that.
Yeah.
The shaggy one.
Yeah.
At Oak Mountain. It's tight and like still groomed, but still raw and tight. Like,
Well, look, it all flows, right? I mean, you've seen it for a while. It all flows from one thing, literally talking about like the meta of whatever the popular meta is at the moment, right? And it'll shift again. Right now we have 29-inch tie. We're looking at 29ers and we're riding that vibe, and that changes the dynamic. I rode a 27.5, that 134 I was on out in Phoenix. I haven't ridden a 27.5. Like when I got back in, 29ers were around. That was a totally different ride. That was crazy. I mean, it was like I felt fast.
Yeah.
Maybe faster than I should, but I didn't have as much confidence on rocks. Like it was just a mental thing probably.
Yeah.
But even that's going to shift, and the stuff that they're building out there or the stuff that we're building here, that to me, hand cut flow is the greatest thing in the world, because then you get some of this stuff that's a little edgy, but you still get some flow out of it. And then there's all trail bikes that we brought up suddenly become really magical on those because they're capable. And then as you grow as a rider, you can be like, I'm going to push a little more. And then that bike has got plenty of room to grow with you, which I think is awesome in today's day and age of like, we're pretty bad about being as consumers, we're pretty bad about like, we buy stuff and turn it over very quickly. And we don't necessarily like let that product live for a little while. Yeah. You know, so it's cool to have the more diversity of that side, the riding diversity across that platform. Is there anything like big wise that, is there any major misconception? This will be the last sort of bit here, but is there any major misconception? Well, we've talked a lot about them and you've been very honest, which is badass, frankly. But is there any major misconception that stands out that you're like, I wish people knew X or anything in that capacity of like where you are now and you get to see the whole picture and most of us see our organizational picture.
And that's all we care about, right?
Right. I mean, it's hard.
It's hard to not process that thought.
Yeah. But is there anything big that stands out that you wish, like, you know, this reaches people, maybe 7, but like it reaches those 7 people, but they might be all from different chapters. But is there any major point that you think needs to be out?
They should join their local chapter.
That's true.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing are the people that are outside of the realm of what it takes to put trail on public land. It's much harder than the keyboard warriors do on any sort of differently colored bicycle websites.
Correct.
Right.
It's a challenge, and they don't understand that, and they also don't understand that land managers are going to be the ones that dictate what type of trail is on their property.
Yep.
If they don't want you to build any wooden features, guess what? You don't build any wooden features. If they don't want you to put any jumps in, guess what? You don't do that. Yeah, it's cases like the Black Mountain reroute in Brevard. You know, there was so much like keyboard warrior, like, oh, this is the worst. They're just taking away and sanitizing the trail. You know what? If they didn't do what they did to that trail, you wouldn't have Black Mountain, period.
Right.
Forest Service is going to close that trail down. Same thing with Butter Gap. Like, they're reworking Butter Gap right now. Forest Service shutting that trail down. It has to be rerouted or else not existent. And I think that people don't understand the nuance of what that takes and how most of the trail that they ride is on public land. Mm-hmm. It's not private property. You can't do whatever the heck you want to do. Right. Yeah, sure. I'd love like every park to go out there and have like a pretty awesome jump line and then this like really gnarly tech line and then a beginner trail. But you know what? Not every piece of property will do that. Not every land manager wants you to do that. And it's just not possible. Like, I think one of the best things that's happened to a lot of our chapters are these private bike parks. Because they can build and make these things without having a lot of the loopholes that you have to jump through for public lands. Mm-hmm. Like,
and the slowness of the bureaucracy.
Yeah, they can just
by the time it gets done, you could have different people even on the chapter.
Yeah.
You know, like different people involved. It takes so long to get something done at a public place.
Yeah.
Like that's why we are who we are.
Right.
If you use an RTP grant, for instance, it has to be there in perpetuity, which means it has to be there in that sense forever, which is something that is hard to even like come up with the concept of. Mm-hmm. But then be able to take that and translate it to General Joe or General Jill that are trail users that don't understand any of the bureaucracy. They're just like, well, why don't you build this crazy, stupid trail? It's just like, that message is always going to be the message that we fight, regardless of what the leadership is and what the mission is. And I don't know how to get that out, but that's probably, to answer your question, that is the thing, is we are at the mercy of the people that own the land, and 90% of the stuff that we build is on public land.
Right. Yeah, it's what we've talked about here a good bit, is that if people would follow the process that we did. I mean, we're a completely legal, sanctioned entity. We have insurance. We are not IMBA affiliate or SORBA affiliated, rather, only because we are super private. Would I like to? We've talked about it a lot. That's going to be up to our membership one day. But there's conditions that go with that we have to make sure that the landowner. That's the game we're playing. Same thing. Mm-hmm. But it was 10 times easier to do that than it was to ask permission to build a jump at our local South Alabama trails.
Yeah.
And then an RTP grant there becomes sketchy because they'll sell off that land to build dorms. They have to. They're a business. Like they're not. So we're not even on a.
Yeah,
you're not talking about we're in a park.
Yeah, we have
right?
no U.S. Forest Service land
Yeah,
or city parks. Like,
so I don't. That's a great point. I genuinely don't think people understand. It was hard as hell just to do what we did.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10 times harder, and there's red tape for days to get that public stuff set up. And I think that's a great point. I don't know what the right answer is. I wish I could give you a snarky tagline so that I could just bill you later.
Well, I mean, the people. The thing is, the people that will listen will listen. The people that won't listen, and
the people that won't listen won't help anyway.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
That's right.
So it's a moot point, but it's also the flag that we constantly have to carry and constantly have to be made aware of.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Are you a social media person?
Yeah.
Or is it driving people to? I mean, are you allowed to have a private personal one?
Yeah, I do have a private one. It's mostly photography of ferns and mushrooms and stuff. But at Feliciousness.
How am I going to spell that?
Yeah, I don't even know how to spell it without writing it down. So good luck. But you could probably search me, Philip Darden, and you'll find me. But definitely follow Sorba Maine. I do all the social media for Sorba, so
Nice.
I'm constantly out there. Our Sorba account only follows all of our chapters and different writer groups, and so I'm constantly reposting stuff that chapters are doing. And follow Sorba Maine if you want to know what's going on throughout the region. Become a member. Right now we've got a membership drive going on with EMBA.
Yep.
You have a chance to be a winner of a Yeti SB 160 or a Yeti SB 140 on top of 4 other great prize packages. If you're already a member, you can renew during the month and you get entered into the chance to win. It's good through the end of May. And you can also add additional chapters. So if you're a Samba member and you do go up to Chattanooga, you can be a member of SORBA Chattanooga as well and add that to your membership.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah, that's pretty new too.
That's pretty new.
Yeah, you couldn't do that before.
Yeah, you can only be. It was a singular.
Yeah.
That's awesome though. I'd love to give them more money.
Yeah. It's you can be a member of up to like, I don't know, 10 different chapters. Or
Oh,
so.
really? It's that many?
It's ridiculous. But yeah, support your local organization, volunteer, become a member of your chapter. But more importantly, just get out there and do the work. Like no dig, no ride.
Well, there you go. That's from the top, folks. Well, that's good. I appreciate it. I thank you very much for being on.
Yeah, I
Obviously, we
appreciate
were
it.
super stoked. I was actually more excited, to be honest with you, to get to ride with you, just to hang out. I love having you on the podcast. This conversation that you hear on the podcast was no different, minus all the poopy, farty things because of all of our trail names.
Yeah.
Minus that, than we had on the trail. So if anyone is skeptical at all at this point, I will 100% tell you that the conversation here was exactly what we talked about on the trail. Again, with less poo-poo pee-pee.
Yeah, less dick
references.
jokes.
Yeah.
And less, yeah, as Dale said, Richard jokes. Fewer Richard jokes.
Well,
And the
if
trails
you
are
made
great.
it this far, it is what it is.
I had a great time. Like trails are fun. I had a
appreciate
great time riding with you guys. Like it was a good day.
Yeah, that was good. Super good. Now we got to go feast. I'm starving. All right. With that said, I think we have to do the old. Yeah. One last plug. If you want that shirt that Dale's wearing, there's only going to be 10 of them. And you should join that group because now we have this guy on the hook to create a shirt for us. You have to go over and search the group out as the Red Private Group. There's going to be 10 of those shirts. They're $30 a piece. But you could win from a waffle your money back plus an extra $25.
That's right.
That seems like a pretty good deal. And you have a 1 in 10 shirt. That only exists for you. I think that's pretty awesome. Right. If you would like our autographs, we will.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into whatever.
Be careful.
$20 is $20.
$20 is $20.
All right. With all that said, just remember what Philip Darden says.
Thanks for having me.
There you go. Those are the best.
Goodbye.